And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with the Game Boy Geek.
Hello there, my friends. It's the Game Boy Geek here. Today, we are going to be capitalists doing business as usual, starting interesting and funny businesses in different regions of the economy. We're going to be trying to get our devices consumed by other people to make money. We're also going to be running for president and saying what we'd do if we were president, then possibly turning around and not doing it, acting on legislation, becoming president, and we'll do it all again a few different rounds. Today we're going to look at corporate America from Nothing Sacred Games, 3 to 6 players, ages 14 and up, plays from 90 minutes to 2 hours. It's a negotiation type game where there's a lot of influence and stuff like that, where you're going through and trying to make the most money, work with other people. Very interesting. It's a lot of fun. Let's check it out. I'll show you how it's played. See you on the other side. At the beginning of the game, everyone is given a certain amount of money depending on the amount of players playing, and the person who has the most money on them in real life at the time gets to be the first president of the United States, puts this cool thing out in front of him. Now, how it starts is you get a certain amount of businesses, depending on how many people, and you get to start some of these. So on my first turn, I drew 3 businesses to start the game, because let's say we're playing with 5, and then on my turn I got to draw 2 new businesses, and I have to discard 1. Now, first of all, before we do that, look at the idea of these businesses here. There are just a lot of humor that's in this game. This business is called Jock's Trap. Just buy it. And it's in the entertainment and health business. It costs $4, and if either entertainment or health is consumed, I'm going to get $4. Diarrhea oil? Explosive profits. Yeah, of course. Cost 12, gets me 8 if transportation or energy is consumed. And it's got a bad connotation here. It is a polluting business, of course. It's got diarrhea oil. Later on, this will do some bad things to you. I'll show you what those will do. PU Power. Plutonium in one end, waste out the other. $4 to buy, $8 to consume. Now, this is a very good return on investment, but it only consumes if energy. Where some of these other ones, you get less of a return on investment, but there's more of them that you can score on. Mick Dead Cow. I'm shoving it. You know, food, but it also has negative connotation to labor. And fatty televisions, they make you fat, P-H-A-T. Cost $12 and you get $8 for entertainment or home. Some of these have some positive things or negative things and some special abilities. For example, give $2 to an owner of an energy business whenever entertainment or home is consumed. So you'll get $8 when one of these two are consumed, but then you have to give $2 to an owner of an energy business. And similar to here, you give $1 to the owner of a health business whenever food's consumed. Some of the other things are good, you'll be receiving things. So let's say I would discard one, and then I would get to start. Normally I would start 1 business in every other round, but in the first round with 5 players, I'd get to start 3 of these businesses. So let's say I started these 3, I would put them face up in front of me and I would pay the money. So it'd be about 21 bucks between 12, 5, and 4. I'd pay the $21. I would leave these face up in front of me. Another point about these businesses is when things get consumed, if you have a certain amount of businesses of the same type, you get these synergy bonuses. So if I had 2, let's say, energy businesses, and energy came up, not only would both of those score get me my income as normal, but you'd also get a bonus of 2. And if I had 5 of those businesses, I'd get an income of 14. So it's really huge. Sometimes you can build up these synergies in 1 or 2 businesses, which would give you huge money if you get those. But be wary that people are going to be voting and bribing against that consumer card to come out because they don't want you to get all that money. So it's kind of a risk, but if you do make it, you're going to make a lot of money on those little ones. So it's always the choice of, hey, do I put all my eggs in 1 or 2 baskets, or do I diversify and try to make money while everybody else does? Once everyone's had a chance to do this, we use this nice little Washington Monument icon and move over to the Main Street phase. Here is a phase that has some good negotiation and bribing for sure, where 1 at a time in player order, starting with the president, 1 consumer card will come up into each one of these blue spots here. So here, health is consumed. So now anybody that has a health business, if this was the one selected, would get what they have. So for instance, if you remember, I had a Jock's Trap business that had health. So if this indeed does get consumed, I'm going to get $4. However, the person that pulled this card might not have health at all. He might have something else and he doesn't like this card. He can pay to bring out more cards. Here's the consumer card price. The first one's free, the second one's $4, the third one's another $6, 8, another 10, another 12. So it gets really expensive if you start pulling out other cards as you start adding them onto the board. So the person that doesn't have health might not want to pay the $4 extra, but he might look around and see other people that don't have health. Hey guys, this isn't helping you either. Why don't you guys chip in a buck or two, and we'll get this next card out and see if it's something that can help us all. And there's interesting negotiations. And then sometimes, if this is really going to help someone a lot, the person who has health or the people that have health will get together and go, hey, those guys are going to pay for your next card to come out. How about we just give you more than that? We'll give, instead of giving you $5 for the next card, between the two of us, we'll give you $6 if you do let health be consumed. And there's this always amazing negotiation that happens around this time. So let's say this guy goes, nope, sorry, I'm just going to get a new card. This one's not good. I'll pay the $4. I got somebody chipping in. And they bring out a new card. This goes into the discard pile. And it's energy. Voila! Let's say, oh good, that guy had energy. So he's like, nah, I'm gonna keep it, and he'll consume and make his money. It then goes to the next person's turn, and they get to bring out a consumer card. Ooh, look at this, we've got a protest. There's a few protest cards, I think there's 6 of them in the game. These guys are yelling out, save the whales! And they want a sort of a green or recycling type of card to come up. We put these guys up to the top of the board, and they stay there to the legislation round. We'll talk about what they do later. Get out of here, protest. Now, if it was your turn when you got the protest, you get to do another one. So it's the next player's turn, and then so on and so forth. So let's say after 8 people have done this, now again, let's say there's 5 players. You know, the president starts first, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The president would have selected this one and the 2 people next to him. So some people that are closest to the president are going to get to select more than one of these cards, or have the power to say which one's which and drive the negotiation, where the people furthest away from the president only get 1. We'll talk about why that's important later when we vote for president. So once all these 8 are out and everyone's gotten their money, this phase sort of goes away and we go to the campaign trail. Now we see these red legislation cards. We're going to draw one for each of these red spots. So these will get filled, and each person will one at a time go around and say, if I were president, which of these 3 would I enact? Now keep in mind that there's 6 here. After the person becomes president, 2 new cards come out. So he has 2 other cards to choose from. So what he's saying now might be different from his opportunities that come up later. But for now, from what he sees, each person says, which 3 laws would I enact? And each person does it one at a time and shows how it would benefit me, you, or other people, and they get people to try to vote for him. But let's go over some of these cards here. First of all, protests always have to get taken care of first. Now we looked at these 2 cards that were on the protest board, and there's no symbols of this in any of the legislation, so that protest is going to stay up there. This what would Jesus do card, we need someone to enact a law that has a Christian logo on it. So what that means is we know that each president, whoever's president, one of these 2 laws has to be enacted to suffice that protest, enable that law, and get rid of those protesters. Very thematic, right? So they have to enact one of these 2, which is here's a tax. Sin businesses have -2 income, and it's a law. It stays down on the laws until somebody revokes a law. I'll tell you about that later. This one is labor businesses have -2 income. So either one of those 2 have to be enacted, and this is interesting because some president might, someone running for president might have a sin business, or someone might have a labor business, and their decision is going to be different. And you know, this is a Christian one as well. Health businesses have -2 income. So one of these 3 for sure has to be enacted to get rid of that protest. Then they're free to choose any of the other 2. Maybe they have a home business and it's a stimulus and it's a Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Home businesses have +2 income. Or let's revoke a law at random. Or divide $15 and give it away as you choose. So the president's going to go around and say which 3 of these would he do and why, and everybody listens to it. Then we move to the bidding round. Starting with the president, people bid on who they want to be president. Again, all the money is secret. You can't see the back of them. And so everyone bids. You can bid for yourself. That's totally legal. So like, for instance, here's a $1 bill. And on the back, all the money looks the same from the back. So what's going to happen is they can bid for as many people as they want and as much or as little as they want. If they can also pass and not bid. But if they pass, they're out for the entire election of this round. So there's 3 rounds of bidding. And so they bid. They bid for themselves or whatever. They say, okay, I'm done. And it goes to the next person. And then after 1 round, a second round goes. Again, more blind bidding. Some people might now get out. Some people might still be bidding. And we go through a 3rd round. It's interesting to see how these 3 change, where people start bidding. And again, you don't know which dollar bills they're throwing. You just see how many cards they're throwing down. At the end of the 3rd, We then go to the Capitol Hill phase to find out who's president. Everyone flips over the money that's in front of them, and the one that has the most money in their campaign has become president. And then all that money just goes back to the bank. Nobody gets to keep it. And if it's a tie, hey, it's the Superior Court. You just find some fun way to break the tie. You ask your kid, your dog, whoever. And it's the Superior Court, and they get to say who's president. The first thing a new president gets to do is take one of these cool executive privilege cards. They keep it secret to themselves. This one's called Hanging Chads. They get to use this power after campaign contributions have been revealed during the Capitol Hill phase, and they get to take $10 from a player's campaign contributions to add to your personal money. Pretty cool. Some of these cards are really powerful. Some of them are okay, just simply okay. So it's a little risky sometimes to run for president. You don't want to spend too much money, but you do want to have the power to get the laws done that you want. The next thing they can do is revoke any one law. If it was a previous round, there were laws down here. Now look at some of these. All these here are laws. If they get enacted, they go down here and stay until someone revokes them. The president may elect to revoke any one law if there is one. Then 2 more new cards are going to come out, and then from these, he's going to select the 3. Now this is where it gets interesting because A, the president might not even do anything he said he was going to do. Big surprise. Sounds like real life, right? Or he can also he could do what he's going to say, but these new cards come out, which changes things, because now look, there's another Christian logo that came out. So now we have 4 of them. He could choose any one of these to take care of that protest we talked about earlier. And so he gets to pick 3, and he might change his mind now because of the new ones that came out, or he might just screw everybody and do something different. Or he might want to be president again later, so he might actually do some of the things he said he was going to do, but then weasel his way through, hey, this new thing came up, and that's even better for you, so let's do that. So he picks which 3 are enacted. If they're laws, they go below to the laws, they stay there. If they're immediate ones, immediate things happen, and then these get discarded, and that's the Capitol Hill phase. Then we move back to the Wall Street phase again, and we do this again. Now, depending on how many players there are, we'll tell you how many cards are in this executive privilege. Once all these cards are gone, it's usually like 3 or 4 rounds, it's empty. That means that this is the very end of the game. We do one last Wall Street phase, one last Main Street phase. Whoever has the most money at the end of that wins. All right, well, there's corporate America. Okay, first of all, keep in mind, I love negotiation games. They're one of my favorite genres. Between that and deduction, it's sort of tied. Those are my 2 favorite genres. And my game group that I tried this with multiple times is the one that loved nothing personal. So with that being said, we and I loved this game. It was so much fun. Let's see, where do we start? The whole idea behind it was awesome. Going through the different phases, the artwork, and the name of the businesses. It's just a fun, light-hearted game where the business names are so funny. The artwork on the consumer cards are fun. I like the aspect of you see what other people's businesses they start, and then you have some decisions to make as to, hey, do I want to start businesses that other people have to try to kind of be in there with them to make it easier to negotiate? Or do I really want to go off on my own and just try to get some big synergy on some other businesses that maybe one other person has, but not everybody? You got some decisions to make there. Then when you get to the Main Street phase, man, that is really, in my opinion, the best part of the game. The negotiations and the different things that happen, when you're trying to get your thing consumed, and when you're the person that gets to pick, it's easy. I'm going to consume what I have, but you might be able to get some money from other people to play that card or pick a different card. When you're trying to negotiate and get someone not to pick the card that's up, and even though it might benefit them, if you get enough people to pay him off, he might get another card. When that card comes up, it still might help that person or maybe not. It's just really cool to see what happens. There's a lot of laughter, a lot of stuff that goes on to this. I love that about this. And then when you go to the other phase, the Capitol Hill phase, the president thing, I like the idea of the presidency and those cards are cool. But all in all, I absolutely love the negotiation of this game. And then when you become president, and you get to say which laws come out, or which laws you're going to enact. I love the idea of those protesters, and that really forces your hand on which ones you're going to enact. I love that mechanic. It's awesome. I also really love that once you become president, 2 more new ones come out, which makes it harder to keep your word to other people, and I love that about it. So overall, amazing negotiation game, no brainer. If you like negotiation, you've got to get this game. It's awesome. Here's a few things I didn't like about the game. First of all, the presidency, and this might change over time, but at first we put way too much stock and way too much emphasis on who was president. We bid way too much. Cool, it's cool to be the president. You get that cool card, the privilege card, and you get to go first on all the consumer phases. But we felt that for the amount of money that we were throwing at the president and the amount of big deal we were making over the president, the cards were cool, and some of them were more powerful than others, but we didn't feel like that really made as big a difference as for how much money we were throwing out. So maybe our strategy changes over a few games, that we don't put as much money in, and it's not as big a deal. So I just wish that maybe those cards were even more powerful than they were. So that way it does influence you, does make you want to bid more, because some of those cards are just off the charts powerful. Maybe make one or two of them super powerful so that you never know if it's going to be a really good one or just a pretty good one. And then it would facilitate more bidding. Because what else we found is that when you're doing the legislations, we found that since everybody sort of had a little bit of the same thing, or one or two people had a lot of the same businesses because they were trying to kind of get together and negotiate with others, that when people said what they would do as president, a lot of it overlapped quite a bit. We very rarely had someone said, I'm going to do these 3 things, and it was completely different from whatever other people said. So now granted, it is thematic that a lot of people say they're going to do the same things as in presidency, but in the game I just wish there was a way to be more different, I think, in the campaign stuff, and I wish that presidency meant more. But nonetheless, I love the game. Those little tidbits, it's not going to stop me from whipping this game out all the time with my group. We loved it. We'll just play it differently, and I think the president will change out different. But overall, no complaints other than that. Those are just minor gripes. I absolutely love this game. One of my favorite negotiation games. You got to check out Corporate America.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.